Ya. Ya, aing anjing. Lagi orang lah tuh. Kumaha dong? Ah, gitu tuh. Bos. Anjing nih dengki aing. Gila. Jadi tampilan.
New World News.
Press
Press enter to continue.
XD weekend. Wow.
Character select screen. Press enter to select the head 123. Press escape to go back.
Ini aing malu tuh. Pintu iyanya layarnya sinkron gua.
Loading. Please wait. Gao NMD says, World Run Chest Imp Siren Pool Malef Mangled Minds MYRK 5 minutes start Cypher X. Nightwish says, you will not wait for rest at 5 AM. Hannah Sister says, Daily Big World Tour starting in 3 min MYRK Sirens Pools Malef come here to join for group. And Ring says, X. Taka no My Hawk says. Veiled C says, XWT. Sizina says, S defiled leather gloves of the Nomad off. Brendan says, for text chat with other players, press enter to open chat. Type message then press enter to send chat. For proximity voice chat with other players, press and hold while speaking. Orosin says, XMIM. Kutouch says, Profane Gauntlets of the Sage WTS. Deep says, Deep says, WTS. Dan Green says, Primeval Rapier of the Sage Primordial Cloth Gloves of the Occultist Primeval Leather Boots of the Scholar WTS. Kyosuma says, XWT. Fast Travel. 423 says, LF10M10 Gen. Late Gear. Chu Run More 3 says, WTS Ancient Hatchet of the Week loading. Please wait. Hannah Sister says, World Tour starting. Sweet Devo says, Colorful Crocken Chaps of the Century WTS. Nightwish says, Told you. LNMD says, World Run Chest Imp Siren Pool Malef Mangled Minds MYRK 4 minutes start Cypher X. Flamesteper says, XWT. Big Diz TV says, X Imp WT. Marilord says, MMG2. Eovaldi says, X Imp. Tubbywood says, WT starting at Imp. Of the Marduk says, X. Hannah Sister says, in starting MYRK LOL. The SACC says, Rusher Ice Gauntlet. Tubbywood says, XINV for WT. Nightwish says, 3 minutes for chest reset. Gao NMD says, World Run Chest Imp Siren Pool Malef Mangled Minds MYRK 3 minutes start Cypher X. AM 5 o'clock RTS. Lete says, Colorful Crocken Boots of the Sage Colorful Crocken Boots of the Sage Colorful Crocken Boots of the Sage WTSBL. Avance 88 says, Brilliant Animus WTS. Smirks says, tainted graves of the soldier WTS. Telefoxy X says, there's also a chest run going in MYRKRN. Almathias says, LFM tank M9 looks. Sunpeng G says, LF1 DPS M10 Gen. Now NMD says, World Run Chest Imp Siren Pool Left Mangled Minds MYRK 2 minutes start Cypher X. Lordsis says, X Imp. Theobaldi says, X Imp. Nanzora says, up to you where to join. Dracus Carbon says, X Imp. Brainstormer says, X Imp. Flamestepper says, XWT Imp. And Ring says, X. Yosuma says, X Imp. Nightwish says, X Imp WT the one that waited for reset. PL Porgas D who says, WTS Major Loop X1. Now NMD says, World Run Chest Imp Siren Pool Malef Mangled Minds MYRK 1 minute start Cypher X. Now NMD says, WT Imp go go go. Nanzora says, Greater Boots WTS.
Paling kecil tuh paling 20-an.
Almathias says, LFM tank M9 looks. Amran says, XWT Imp. Ideal says, WTS tainted boots of the century freedom, shield rush, refreshing.
Apaan ini?
It said Man says, X Imp. Thrifty says, Ignited Dryad Void Gauntlet of the Scholar Ancient Void Gauntlet of the Sage WTS. Hogering says, Infused Leather Gloves of the Century WTS Bis. Scorpser says, Squirming Vines WTS. NW Shoddy says, Forage Alchem Void Gauntlet of the Scholar WTS BMO. Amran says, Go Imp start now. Ryder says, Infused silk gloves of the occultist. Rosen says, X Imp.
Juga bisa dapat ribu sih biasanya buat.
Dreamer says, WTS Vicious plus Refreshing Move plus Empowering Fireball BMO Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar. Nanzora says, Greater Boots WTS. Keto Ito says, WTS Old Earring of the Occultist Orichalcum Fire Staff of the Scholar. Avance88 says, Arboreal Primeval Void Gauntlet of the Sage WTSVG. See Me C says, Precision Armoring Tools WTSBMO. See Me C says, Precision Armoring Tools WTSBMO. Umbukanaha says, LFM 1 Tank 1 Healer M10 Gen Speed Run. Kanaha says, LFM1 tank 1 healer M10 gen speed run. Kanaha says, LFM1 tank 1 healer M10 gen speed run.
Kayaknya habis deh. Perlu lagi. Dan gua. Ini juga ini lumayan juga.
Selanaza says, laughing face. Daniel says, wait.
Untuk yang levelnya masih di bawah 40, jangan coba-coba kon serigala itu tuh. Biasanya langsung mati.
NW Shadi says, Orichalcum Great Axe of the Soldier WTS 25k. Fef says, Old Earring of the Scholar Primeval Cloth Shoes of the Ranger WTS Chief Bis. Lokain says, WTS Orichalcum Great Axe of the Soldier. Boy Cameron says, Tower Shield of the Soldier Arboreal Void Gauntlet of the Occultist Archaic Greaves of the Century WTS offer. Kanaha says, Primeval Musket of the Scholar WTS.
Biasanya di sini banyak pohon-pohon apa ya namanya, lupa. Kayak gitu tuh.
Retoken says, Bone Rot Buckler of the Soldier I hit. Creamer says, WTS Vicious plus Refreshing Move plus Empowering Fireball BMO Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar. Creamer says, WTS Vicious plus Refreshing Move plus Empowering Fireball BMO Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar.
Batu-batu merah kalau di stun.
Curio says, Primeval Ice Gauntlet of the Occultist WTS.
Pakai kamera HP. Jadi kita tuh berburu gitu sama player lain. Ya di sini juga ada apa ya, dungeon gitu. Cuman minimal tuh harus
Daniel
ada 3
says,
orang.
Go away.
Ya bisa di sana. Biasanya dia ambil
Squirtzer says, Squirming Minds WTS. Not Royal says, ISOP are going on? XO Fantasy XO says, Dryad Patroller Leggings of the Occultist WTS. The Conqueror says, Hey up here you nerds. Daniel says, Whoring.
Banyak yang ngambil. Oke, dan apa-apa. Ya, apa-apa. Ada belum lagi guys. Biasanya udah aktifin
I'm a lag BAII says, why so you can be a punching bag for the no skill 625 GS nerds not pass. Faisual says, XDPS la/gen. Fane says, ancient leather gloves of the century, corrupted cloth hat of the barbarian, ancient fire staff of the scholar, ancient ice gauntlet of the occultist WTSBMO. I'm a lag BAII says, this game has 3 skills and a row no skill PvP. Rug says, I'm sorry for the team, we just 3-0 DPLSQ again. Rug says, he'll cry if you don't. Ryder says, why you tweakin'? Lechanel says, ha. Daniel says, haha.
Goal cepat, nah paling lo dungeon bahan partian lo.
Creamer says, WTS vicious plus refreshing mood plus empowering fireball PMO, ancient fire staff of the scholar. Rub on Rub says, primeval boots of the soldier, ancient cloth pants of the sage, old amulet of the scholar, old ring of the nomad, old ring of the priest WTSBMO. Intananen says, ancient leather coat of the soldier, archaic pants of the barbarian, archaic pants of the ranger, tainted gloves of the century WTS. Retukin says, rug. Skeeler says, LFG DPS full ward M10 Gen Orlas. Mad Dad says, I about hooped a mofo spleep IRL for saying quit tweakin' one day, didn't realize it was a common term for younger mother bleep meaning tripping, quit trippin'. Retukin says, at rug. Rug says, ret. Mad Dad says, miscommunication. Chun BM says, GG up here. Retukin says, who is the best fire staff in dropouts? Pupa the Pungia says, Kahed and Sheezer, have you guys been made aware of the company server transferring? Retukin says, and why is it me? Rug says, you. It's not close. Ryder says, Johnny Lakes says, yeah. Nanzora says, Raider Boots WTS. Rug says, Chrome is mid and I've seen him dodge you at least 10 times now. Rexy says, surprised face. Lily says, LFM need all roll M10 list. Jackie 1 says, old amulet of the cleric. Jackie 1 says, this amulet. Gaben take my money says, tainted pants of the century WTS. Rexy says, dropouts isn't a Rexy FS believer. Debit says, Chrome single-handedly saved New World in all of North America. NW Shotty says, best fire staff in dropouts is RCG. NW Shotty says, no cap. Dexterity Demon says, Chrome saved YGG, thank you Chrome. Thrifty says, old amulet of the scholar WTS. PL Pisky says, defiled warhammer of the soldier WTS offer. Thrifty says, old amulet of the scholar WTS. Creamer says, WTS vicious plus refreshing move plus empowering fireball BMO, ancient fire staff of the scholar. Rathic says, /. PL Pisky says, tainted hat of the occultist WTS offer. Phobos says, WTS Orichalcum fire staff of the scholar, primeval ice gauntlet of the scholar, defiled fire staff of the scholar, empowered defiled ice gauntlet of the druid, Orichalcum fire staff of the scholar, ancient cloth shirt of the century. Rug says, Orichalcum fire staff of the scholar WTS. PL Michel says, Orichalcum void gauntlet of the sage, primordial cloth shirt of the brigand WTS BMO. Rug says, by this trust it's bis. Dexterity Demon says, that is awful. Sell it to Ret. Lily says, need healer and tank M10. Fupa the Pungia says, if not we are moving to Marama, hope to have everyone who's coming with over by the end of the day tomorrow, smiley face, if you would like OT join us. Faint says, ancient fire staff of the scholar WTS. NW Shoddy says, WTB keen empower, scream BG so I can glow to blind. Danny Elk says, spit. Chu Run More 3 says, WTS ancient great axe of the soldier, ancient hatchet of the ranger, defiled spear of the ranger, primordial leather coat of the ranger, old earring of the scholar, old amulet of the sentry. Num says, orange alchem heavy breastplate of the soldier WTS. El Bapel says, primeval fire staff of the druid WTS. Scorpser says, LF4M temp run need DPS tag. TNS Alice says, defiled void gauntlet of the priest, defiled void gauntlet of the scholar, corrupted musket of the trickster, corrupted musket of the scholar WTS. Gao NMD says, next station siren 7 minutes. TNS Alice says, old ring of the scholar, old ring of the scholar, old ring of the druid, old earring of the barbarian WTS. NW Shoddy says, Orich Alchem void gauntlet of the scholar WTS PMO. TNS Alice says, primordial cloth hat of the nomad, primeval leather hat of the fighter, primeval helm of the knight, tainted hat of the knight, defiled cloth hat of the soldier, tainted hat of the soldier WTS. Storm Creek says, primeval greaves of the warden WTS, shirt fort, Brazil, refreshing con/dex. Scorpser says, LF3M temp run need DPS tank. TNS Alice says, primeval greaves of the cavalier, tainted pants of the warden, tainted greaves of the cleric, profane pants of the brigand WTS. Lily Nye says, crystalline warhammer of the soldier, ancient blunderbuss of the soldier, archaic hat of the brigand WTS. Kato Shiho says, plus siren. TNS Alice says, primeval gauntlets of the sentry, primordial leather gloves of the soldier, profane gloves of the occultist, tainted gloves of the occultist, tainted gloves of the soldier WTS. Scorpser says, squirming vines WTS. TNS Alice says, defiled void gauntlet of the priest, defiled void gauntlet of the scholar, corrupted musket of the trickster, corrupted musket of the scholar, lance of the profane of the ranger, primeval musket of the scholar WTS. Amran says, WT at siren. Jackie 1 says, WTS M10 gold Genesis DM me wait time 14M. Jackie 1 says, WTS M10 gold Genesis DM me wait time 14M. Scorpser says, LF3M temp run need tank DPS. Jackie 1 says, WTS M10 gold Genesis DM me wait time 14M. Sir Trademark says, thanks. Bellator X says, X siren. Thrifty says, old amulet of the scholar WTS. Thrifty says, old amulet of the scholar WTS. Scorpser says, LF2M DPS tank. Gal NMD says, WT siren 5 minutes. Mokhain says, WTS Orich Alchem great axe of the soldier. Nanzora says, greater beats WTS. Fairy Megan says, X siren. Gagazaga says, vengeful fisherman's hood WTS. Mejupi says, X siren. Paklu Ra says, boy. Avalon says, ancient longsword of the soldier, ancient great axe of the knight WTS PMO. PL Shah says, Orich Alchem void gauntlet of the sage, primordial cloth shirt of the brigand WTS PMO. Scorpser says, LF1 temp run need tank. Jackie 1 says, old amulet of the cleric WTS bis amulet. Now NMD says, WT siren 4 minutes. COSM Omni says, X sirens.
Karena channel ini akan besar bro.
Galgura says, Armorer hat WTS offer. Hannah Sister says, daily big world tour starting in 5 minutes, sirens pools Malef come here to join for group. Grumpy Old Man says, XWT. Dracus Tarvin says, Tank LFless or Gen runs. Gao NMD says, WT Siren 3 minutes. Intananen says, tainted gloves of the Sentry, archaic pants of the Ranger, archaic pants of the Barbarian, ancient leather coat of the Soldier, WTS. Gao NMD says, WT Siren 2 minutes. Amran says, flat bow of the Ranger, WTS. Gao NMD says, WT Siren 1 minute. Ku Townch says, Ryway. Gao NMD says, WT Siren go go go.
Hello guys.
Virgin says, reinforced pristine onyx ring of the scholar, old amulet of the druid, WTS Jeep. Deep says, tainted boots of the cleric, this PvE chest runner stuff. Nice guy healer says, no. Nice guy healer says, wait. Nice guy healer says, too quick. Thorn 11 says, tainted breastplate of the Warden, WTS. Vanessa says, everyone here but you though. LOL. Dracus Tarvin says, tank LF normalless or gen runs. Nice guy healer says, I'm running over with like 10 ppLWYM.
Untuk yang nonton, komen dong biar Aing bisa sapa bro. Ini sudah bingung. Dia ini kalau ngomong.
Garfield says, INB.
Ntar kapan-kapan gua mau live stream mulai.
Garfield says, I'm guitar heat.
Lu lagi dikit kan. 1910. Itu gua jarang upload sih.
Garfield says, no have other music. Garfield says, THX.
saat pagi ke sini. Hari ini awal udah. Sini biasanya banyak ada berapa orang. Ini orang ini. Ada banyak.
Bankers one says.
Kayak bisa. Sebenarnya lo juga bisa apa ya?
PL Madrid says, old amulet of the priest WTS. Deep says, old earring of the night is luck. Coffee says, LFM Genreg Healer DPS. Manzora says, Raider Boots WTS. Garfield says, my bad. Thorn 11 says, tainted breastplate of the Warden WTS ADK. PL Pisky says, immemorial leather coat of the cleric WTS. Asura says, primeval vow of the brigand WTS. Clemson says, X sirens. Avix 88 says, Arboreal Primeval Void Gauntlet of the Sage WTS. Coffee says, LFM Genreg Healer DPS. Moffdet TV says, LFM all roll is red. Yarok DM says, okay. Scriven says, colorful Kraken cap of the century WTS. Apothix says, where's WT? Jackie1 says, WTS M10 Gold Genesis DM me wait time 6M boss now. Coffee says, LFM Genreg Healer DPS. As for KJF says, Star Metal Tools for 1K help a brother out. Moffdet TV says, Crystalline Tower Shield of the Soldier Primeval Warhammer of the Soldier Defiled Void Gauntlet of the Scholar Hunter's Patience WTS. Erzesher says, Old Earring of the Occultist Old Earring of the Occultist Old Amulet of the Occultist Old Ring of the Ranger WTS DM off.
Wow, jauh Din. Jauh Din. Din.
Practice Carbon says, Tank LF normal las or gen runs. Erzesher says, Weaponsmith had ancient boots of the Warden archaic helm of the Nomad ancient leather pants of the Brigand ancient greaves of the Brigand WTS. Coffee says, LFM Genreg Healer. Coffee says, LFM Genreg Healer. Ten Dosabazer says, WTS Smelter Set BMO.
Nggak tahu dia itu pusing, pusing.
Boboss says, WTS corrupted leather coat of the knight, profane shirt of the nomad, defiled cloth shirt of the brigand, profane gloves of the scholar, shade walker, hand wraps of the sentry, colorful crock and sash of the scholar. Jiang Suda Haidiao says, W primeval life staff of the sage.
Tumben pohon wirwun. Yang buatan.
Radiant C says, WTS storage cage. PL Michel says, Orichalcum Void Gauntlet of the Sage, Orichalcum Void Gauntlet of the Scholar, WTS PMO. Drebrix says, Tainted Pants of the Nomad, WTS.
Go, bro.
Num says, Orichalcum Heavy Breastplate of the Soldier, WTS.
Oh, yeah.
PL Madrid says, Old Amulet of the Priest, WTS 50k. Bankers 1 says, XWT. Fast travel. Jackie 1 says, loading. Please wait.
Sorry. Wait.
Avix88 says, Shade Walker hand wraps of the Sentry, 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 WTS. Avix88 says, Shade Walker hand wraps of the Sentry, Shade Walker hand wraps of the Sentry. Gao NMD says, next station pool. Mukhain says, WTS Orichalcum Great Axe of the Soldier. Basir says, OPR happening? Rub on Rub says, WTB Esmo CD.
Nggak kuat. Ini nggak balut.
Rear Alex says, Tut. Hasara says, Primeval Bow of the Brigand, Primordial Leather Hat of the Occultist, WTS. Amran says, Flat Bow of the Ranger, WTS. Death Blooms says, X-Pools. Aerometeru says, WTS 6K Umbral Shargen last boss get ready at the door. Aerometeru says, WTS 6K Umbral Shargen last boss get ready at the door. Gao NMD says, WT pool 5 minute. Silver XXVI says, X pool. Thrifty says, old amulet of the scholar WTS. Auzawa Mizaki says, XWT pools. Aerometeru says, WTS 6K Umbral Shargen last boss get ready at the door. Scriven says, colorful Kraken cap of the century WTS. Herzesher says, forgotten boots of the soldier WTS. Thrifty says, ancient void gauntlet of the sage ignited dryad void gauntlet of the scholar WTS. Thrifty says, ignited dryad void gauntlet of the scholar ancient void gauntlet of the sage WTS. Rearalex says, X pools. Jonathan Joe says, X pool. Avalot says, X pools. C says, X pool. Kamal says, WTS Umbral Shard 6K Gen last boss. Thrifty says, ancient hatchet of the soldier ancient void gauntlet of the cleric ancient void gauntlet of the cleric WTS. Gao NMD says, WT pool 4 min. Aerometeru says, WTS 6K Umbral Shard Gen last boss get ready at the door. Avanx 88 says, arboreal primeval void gauntlet of the sage WTS. Aerometeru says, WTS 6K Umbral Shargen last boss get ready at the door. Sans 3 says, ancient warhammer of the soldier WTS. Raging Monkey 92 says, X pools. Dark Kraken says, X pool. Ku Townch says, profane gauntlets of the sage precision armoring tools PMO. Gao NMD says, WT pool 3 min. Kamal says, WTS Umbral Shard 6K Gen last boss. Ayamiyaja says, 625 healer LFG M10 mud. Ayamiyaja says, Luz. Creamer says, WTS Vicious plus Refreshin Move plus Empowering Fireball PMO Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar. Creamer says, WTS Vicious plus Refreshin Move plus Empowering Fireball PMO Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar. Billy Gibson says, X pool. Tubby Woods says, X invite for pools WT. Gao NMD says, WT pool 2 min. Gozrith says, Forsaken Life Staff of the Sage WTS. Jackie 1 says, WTS help / divine / Stamia recover 300k old amulet of the cleric. Raging Monkey 92 says, X pools. Jonathan Joe says, X pools. Gao NMD says, WT pool 70s. Mukhain says, WTS Orichalcum Great Axe of the Soldier. Dark Kraken says, Spool. Flying Duke Man says, X. Jackie 1 says, Old Amulet of the Cleric. Tubby Woods says, Spools. Gagazaga says, Vengeful Fisherman's with WTS. Gao NMD says, WT pool go go go. Vasir says, come play music with US Evan Scale Trading Post area. Aldous 99 says, Primordial Greaves of the Scholar WTS Co 100 kpm. Garostin says, WTS Primeval Helm of the Soldier Defiled Gauntlets of the Warden. Itzedai Man says, WTS Sunrise over the Western Mountains Painting 3K. Renry says, Ironwood Spear of the Ranger Ironwood Spear of the Ranger WTS PMO. Creamer says, WTS Vicious plus Refreshin Move plus Empowering Fireball PMO Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar. Popokupo says, Orichalcum Fire Staff Charm Orichalcum Void Gauntlet Charm Reinforced Steel Life Staff Charm WTS PM Mina. Phobos says, WTS Best Fire Staffs. Stejan says, WTS Pirate Jewel Box. Phobos says, Orichalcum Fire Staff of the Scholar Orichalcum Fire Staff of the Scholar Defiled Fire Staff of the Scholar and IG Empowered Defiled Ice Gauntlet of the Druid Primeval Ice Gauntlet of the Scholar. El Bapel says, Primeval Fire Staff of the Druid Primeval Ice Gauntlet of the Scholar Primeval Void Gauntlet of the Scholar WTS. It said Man says, WTS Sunrise over the Western Mountains Painting Schematic, Jade Carved Canopy Bed PMO. Sizina says, S Defiled Leather Gloves of the Nomad off. Lilini says, LFM need all roll M10 Liz. Sizina says, S Defiled Leather Gloves of the Nomad off. Popokupo says, Orichalcum Fire Staff Charm Orichalcum Void Gauntlet Charm Reinforced Steel Life Staff Charm WTS PM me now hurry, smiley face. Fast travel.
Gitu aja tuh, 2 kali.
Creamer says, loading. Please wait. Thrifty says, Ancient Void Gauntlet of the Sage Ancient Hatchet of the Soldier Ancient Void Gauntlet of the Cleric Ancient Void Gauntlet of the Cleric WTS. Jackie1 says, WTS Health / Divine / Stamina Recover 300k Old Amulet of the Cleric. Thrifty says, Primeval Fire Staff of the Scholar WTS. Gao NMD says, Next Station Malef. Thrifty says, See Old Amulet of the Scholar WTS. Hasara says, Primeval Vow of the Brigand WTS offer. Stejan says, ADC/O, 125k or 2 glowing sapsp/O. Lilini says, Need DPS M10 Liz. Thrifty says, Pirate Jewel Box WTS. Captain Kern says, X-Malv. Billy Gibson says, X-Pool. Stejan says, Leave my turf. Dragon says, Old Amulet of the Druid Reinforced Pristine Onyx Ring of the Scholar WTS Chief. God Below says, X-Malef.
Enggak kalebet. Alungkeun na. Alungkeun teh paketna. Alungkeun bae.
Jonathan Joe says, Next Siren. Faint says, Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar WTS PMO. NW Shoddy says, Orichalcum Void Gauntlet of the Scholar WTS No C/O. Smeeksa says, LF active Mardur company. Creamer says, WTS vicious plus repression move plus empowering fireball BMO ancient fire staff of the scholar. COSM Omni says, X-Mal. Jonathan Joe says, why so far to my left? Phobos says, nice BG shoddy. HC Rivixen says, Chef shirt colorful croc and wrist guards of the Ranger old amulet of the Druid spectral pristine malachite amulet of the century defiled cloth shoes of the assassin WTSPMO. Captain Kern says, X-Malv. Thorn 11 says, tainted breastplate of the Warden WTS-ADK. Gao NMD says, WT Malef 6 minute. Hasura says, LOL. Almathias says, LF Tank M9 Luz. I Marvin says, WTS Orichalcum great axe of the soldier. Gao NMD says, WT Malef 5 minute. Smeeksa says, ancient great axe of the barbarian WTS. Belkozai says, Orichalcum Tower Shield of the Century WTS offer.
Okay.
Gao NMD says, WT Malef 4 minute.
Feels like I should take up. English?
Captain Kern says, do your buddy a favor and kill everything. Leave no player behind. Almathias says, LF Tank M9 Luz. Gao NMD says, WT Malef 3 minute. NW Shadi says, Orichalcum Void Gauntlet of the Scholar WTSC/0100K. Devil Hand says, Armorer Hat WTS. Lilini says, Ancient Longsword of the Soldier, Ancient Blunderbuss of the Soldier, Archaic Hat of the Brigand WTS. Devil Hand says, Armorer Hat WTS. Creamer says, WTS Vicious plus Refreshin Move plus Empowering Fireball PMO, Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar. Death Blooms says, Dryad Tower Shield of the Ranger, not bad. Pirate Bob Ross says, can I get an INV for a WT? El Bapel says, Primeval Fire Staff of the Druid WTS. Queen Pie says, WTS Beast Hunter Garb of the Century, Beast Hunter Garb of the Century, Beast Hunter Garb of the Century. Gao NMD says, WT Malef 2 min. Sizina says, XWT. Queen Pie says, WTS, Fast Travel. Loading. Please wait. Creamer says, Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar WTSBMO. Cyberly says, Defiled Life Staff of the Nomad, Defiled Warhammer of the Soldier, Dryad Fire Staff of the Druid, Defiled Void Gauntlet of the Scholar WTS. Gao NMD says, WT Malef 1 min. NW Shadi says, Orichalcum Great Axe of the Soldier, Orichalcum Void Gauntlet of the Scholar WTS GPMO. Kyra Roslane says, 3 slots Malef. Renry says, Ironwood Spear of the Ranger, Ironwood Spear of the Ranger, Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar, Ancient Bow of the Ranger WTSBMO. Almathea says, LF Tank M10 Las Link Gear THX. Merc Addis says, who got cheap 6k shards? Thorn 11 says, Tainted Breastplate of the Warden WTS ADK 5 minutes. Boboss says, I wish I could get as stoned as the flamethrower users. You'd have to be baked out of your mind. Almathea says, LF Tank M10 Las Link Gear THX. Creamer says, Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar WTS offer. Mad Dad says, imagine our stoned LVL of non-bot farmers. Oof. Mr. Maximili says, I'm absolutely ripped leveling music RN. Mr. Maximili says, pretty vibin'. Phobos says, bro, even you are higher than me, I have no understanding of what you meant. Phobos says, I'm so jelly. Billy says, best time to be baked imo. Mocha Edelweiss says, tainted hat of the Ranger Primeval cloth, gloves of the Ranger Primeval cloth, pants of the Warden WTS offer. Creamer says, ancient fire staff of the Scholar WTS offer. Gosrath says, old amulet of the century forsaken life staff of the Sage WTS. Barzender says, I wanna play music. Garostin says, WTS primeval helm of the soldier defiled gauntlets of the Warden. Banana 600 says, imp. Banana 600 says, WT imp. Brotherdom 1 says, /shuffle. Creamer says, ancient fire staff of the Scholar WTSBMO. Mr. Maximili says, bet slide to F stairs. Mr. Maximili says, and yet I can't PvE sober is a rule fam. Nightwish says, WT is at Malv. Chris DHL says, Ironwood bow of the Ranger WTS. Vlad Masters says, WTB Ori skinning knife W luck. Astful KJ says, how much? Pongvik says, I'm standing at a church. Gagazaga says, vengeful fisherman's hood WTS. DSKY Tears says, defiled Warhammer of the Soldier, Warhammer of the Soldier empowered Forsaken Warhammer of the Night WTSBMO. Mr. Maximili says, NA fam right at the top of the trade post stairs in F. Mr. Maximili says, best place to jam. Creamer says, ancient fire staff of the Scholar WTSBMO. Creamer says, ancient fire staff of the Scholar WTSBMO. Lycabus says, primeval bow of the Ranger WTSDM offer. Yakaru says, Drop of ironwood sap WTS. Intananen says, ancient leather coat of the soldier, archaic pants of the barbarian, tainted gloves of the century, archaic pants of the ranger WTS. Lolo21 says, he. Merc Addis says, WTB 6K shards. Gao NMD says, next station Mangle. Septorex says, DPSLF Gen Red. Lycabas says, primeval bow of the Ranger WTSDM offer. Scriven says, colorful Kraken cap of the century WTS. Almathea says, LF Tank M10 Las Link Gear THX. Aldous99 says, primordial greaves of the scholar WTS freedom / refresh / resil co 100 kpm. Gao NMD says, WT mangled 5 minutes. Creamer says, WTS vicious plus refresh and move plus empowering fireball PMO ancient fire staff of the scholar. Redand Green says, primeval rapier of the fast travel. Loading. Please wait. Renries says, profane coat of the soldier ancient fire staff of the scholar ironwood spear of the ranger ironwood spear of the ranger WTSPMO. Dracus Tarvin says, tank LF normal las or gen run. Gao NMD says, WT mangled 4 minutes. Sapphire 11 says, Gypsum Life Staff Cast Reinforced Steel Warhammer Charm. What is this used for? Have not really into crafting and I have 2 of these. Sizina says, Defiled Leather Gloves of the Nomad off. Ramses 69 says, Primeval Spear of the Soldier WTS. Ayamiaja says, LF Tank M10 Lis. Sapphire 11 says, Ignore the cast. Sizina says, Defiled Leather Gloves of the Nomad off. Ramses 69 says, Primeval Spear of the Soldier WTS. Sapphire 11 says, LOL. Gao NMD says, WT Mangled 3 min. Nightwish says, Room for 2 in WT. Arcadian Gaming says, Need invite in WT. Gao NMD says, WT Mangled 2 min. A Small Pebble says, Siren Tuning or Bell F2 DPS, Healer, and Tank Quick Runs please. Dracus Tarvin says, Tank LF Normal Lis or Gen Run. Bunchen says, X Mangig. Brainstormer says, X. Tubbywood says, Invite me for WT. Lilia Skies says, Woodworkers choose WTS. Pysuicus says, X Mangled. Gao NMD says, WT Mangled 1 min. Flying Duke Man says, X. Bunchen says, Wait. Lilia Skies says, Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar, Ancient Ice Gauntlet of the Scholar BMO. Gao NMD says, WT Mangled go go go. Avalot says, Ancient Great Axe of the Night, Ancient Longsword of the Soldier WTS BMO. Creamer says, WTS Vicious plus Refreshin' Move plus Empowering Fireball BMO, Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar. Garostin says, WTS Defiled Gauntlets of the Warden 70k. Chris DHL says, Ironwood Bow of the Ranger WTS. Varios says, Archaic Hat of the Cleric, Archaic Boots of the Occultist WTS 40k all. Dracus Tarvin says, Tank LF Normal Lis or Gen Run. Phobos says, WTS Queensguard Orichalcum Fire Staff of the Scholar, Vengeful Orichalcum Great Axe of the Soldier, Brutal Smasher Revenge of the Fallen. Almathea says, LF Tank M10 Lis link to your THX. Thorn 11 says, Tainted Breastplate of the Warden WTS 80k. Skeet Skit says, Lost Ark daily resets happened 6 minutes ago 0 to 0. Hollywood says, Lost Ark is for losers. Jarvan L says, Bulet and Shitazafu. Olympic says, Reinforced Pristine Onyx Ring of the Sage, Primeval Void Gauntlet of the Scholar WTS. I Ultra says, WTB 6k Shards 12k. Creamer says, WTS Vicious plus Refreshin Move plus Empowering Fireball BMO Ancient Fire Staff of the Scholar. Sapphire 11 says, Reinforced Steel Warhammer Charm. What are theses used for? I'm not a crafter and have a whole bunch of different ones. Cyberly says, WTB 6k shards 17k. Rub on Rub says, Primeval Boots of the Soldier, Old Amulet of the Scholar, Ancient Cloth Pants of the Sage, Primeval Cloth Shirt of the Sage, Old Ring of the Nomad. WTSPM. Lei Cheng says, Gen M10 need tank DPS link all. Rain Shalathir says, LF1 DPS 1 tank and 1 healer. Tourniquet says, LFM Gen normal. Sizina says, S defiled leather gloves of the Nomad Freedom / Razy Lent / M4 breaker off. Sizina says, X healer. Rain Shalathir says, Forlas. Horito says, Orichalcum heavy gauntlets of the soldier. WTS. Horito says, Orichalcum heavy gauntlets of the soldier. Dracus Tarvin says, tank LF normal las or gen run. Tourniquet says, DPS las. Tourniquet says, INV. Skeeler says, no. Lei Cheng says, Gen M10 need tank link all time. Lei Cheng says, just need tank, let's go. Lei Cheng says, fast run. Queen Pai says, WTS infused silk hat of the century, infused silk hat of the century, shade walker hand wraps of the century, beast hunter garb of the century. I Ultra says, WTB 6k shards. Rain Shalathir says, let's group full. Avalot says, Ancient Great Axe of the Night, Ancient Longsword of the Soldier. WTSBMO. Talag Grande says, Tank LFG to Las Reg. Michael Scarn 2 says, I'm available for Liz. I'm tank. I Ultra says, WTB 6k shards. Lei Cheng says, Gen M10 need tank link all. I Ultra says, WTB 6K shards. Balazaman says, are the 600 GS patterns in event selling? Talagrande says, LF3 DPS 1 healer to Lazreg.